Bonjour. Alors là, c'est au début. Attends. Là, c'était au mauvais endroit, là. Voilà. Bon. I'm going to be using Camtasia to post a lot of stuff for our class, so I thought I would remind myself how to use it. So I'm just going to leave the mistakes in. My name is Susan Clay, je suis Madame Clay. You can call me Suzanne if you want to. Most people feel more comfortable saying Madame Clay, so that's fine with me. This, as I said, is just for me to practice Camtasia a little bit since I haven't used it for so long. And if you'll remind me in a couple weeks, we'll either do some kind of a check-in quiz about this video or have some kind of little extra credit thing attached to it. So, there. Voilà. Oh, I just did this. I just redid this on the computer and I forgot how to do it. Okay. I just changed my settings. It was a bad thing to do right before Camtasia. Alors là, comme c'est dit, bike touring in France. These pictures will be from various bike trips that I took, most of them before the digital age, so they've all been scanned. You'll have to please excuse any aesthetic shortcomings thanks to that. But they are some pretty fun shots, so... comme c'est dit, Suzanne, Toulouse-Lautrec et des amis. Toulouse-Lautrec is my bike. That's this gray Trek right here, gray silver Trek. I still have him. He's sitting in the house. He's bored, actually. He hasn't been to France for a long time. So, this is a Cannondale that belonged to my boyfriend at the time, Dean. And in the distance is the English Channel. Alors, ici, en devant, on a ce qu'on appelle bocage. Bocage in France is when you have that patchwork effect between fields. You see the same thing in Britain if you've seen any British movies, or if you've flown over very many rural parts of Britain. You have the same thing where you have hedgerows or little stone fences or whatever dividing various fields, and the fields are usually a little smaller format than ours, and so that's the bocage. C'est très beau, hein? And then you have the English Channel in the distance disappearing into the horizon. Alors, what France really looks like, daily sights from the saddle. This was for a big presentation. We're not going to do the whole thing. We're just going to do a little bit of it to, as I said, test my Camtasia skills and for you to hear a little bit French before we start the semester, or as we start the semester. And then, as I said, possibly an extra credit opportunity. This picture, all of these pictures are taken from the north half of France. I haven't cycled hardly at all in the southern part of the country. This, I believe, is a little bit south of Paris. It might be on the way to this town called Amiens, which was pretty well known in the First World War. But I can't remember where I took it. So it was either on the way to Bourges or on the way to Amiens. Alors voilà. C'est très beau, quand même. Vous voyez encore le bocage. You have some more bocage here. And then a pretty village in the distance. Et encore un petit village, super beau, d'ailleurs, là, c'est beau. A little corner of my bike bag, and a pretty town. Alors là, vous avez des tournesols, sunflowers, which, strictly speaking, you don't have a huge amount of sunflowers in the north part of France, but there are a few. There aren't as many as there are in the south, where they really produce it. Mais voilà. And I think that this shot is from somewhere outside of Orléans. Orléans is what New Orleans was named for. The original Orleans is in France, qui s'appelle Orléans et non pas Orleans. Mais voilà. Je pense que c'est un peu à côté d'Orléans. Alors, voilà. Alors ça, c'est à côté de Tours. If anybody has heard about the Loire Valley or Touraine, this is the heart of Touraine. Tours, you're looking straight west here. Tours is over here, and I'm sure you'll see some pictures of it at some point during the semester on my website or wherever. This is the Loire. The reason that the Loire Valley was so rich and inviting was thanks to the Loire River, which now is barely navigable compared to how it was in those days, but it's still quite pretty. Et puis, ici, the times that I spent in Touraine, I almost always lived in Sainte-Radegonde, which is a suburb up this way, north of the city, and a couple kilometers up a hill past this wall is where I lived. Alors voilà. Ça c'est le pont de fer, the Iron Bridge. This is a pedestrian slash biking bridge that people use to go in and out of the city of Tours if they don't want to go, if they're on foot and they're on their bikes and they don't want to go all the way over to the main bridge, which is the Pont Wilson, which is named for President Wilson after the First World War. Et puis, voilà. Ça aussi, c'est à côté de Tours. I do not know the name of this big convent, mais c'est très beau. I think it's kind of partway between Tours and Blois, because I believe that these pictures were taken on a day when I was riding my bike to Blois. Blois was pretty well frequented by the kings of France before, especially before Chambord was built. Chambord is this huge chateau that François Ier built, and so anyway, this is about halfway between Tours and Blois. Ça aussi, c'est la même route. This is on the same day, on the same trip, heading towards Blois with a couple of really fun medieval towers in the distance. Alors là par contre, c'est à côté d'Amiens. This is northeast of where that last stuff was taken. Amiens is a little bit north of Paris, between Paris and the English Channel. And this was a day in July, believe it or not. France is super green, even all through the summer, so that's a really cool part about France. But also, this was a nice cool day, so for cycling, it was perfect. Et puis, dans le fond, vous avez un 2 chevaux. Citroën used to make these cars called 2 chevaux. They still make them, but now they're kitschy instead of necessities. And they really did start out being 2 horsepower cars, so that's kind of cool. Et ils sont les 2 chevaux, ben, c'est la vraie tradition de la voiture là. There's my bike right there as well. Et puis c'est super vert, ça fait frais et tout. Puis même village un peu plus proche, même chose un peu plus loin encore. And then a fun little barn covered with really cool ivy. Et j'ignore le nom de ce petit village, je m'excuse, mais voilà. La prochaine fois, je ferai mes devoirs avant de faire la présentation, d'accord? This is a tower, I believe outside of Rouen, but I don't know what it is or where it is exactly, I can't remember. And it's probably noted in a journal somewhere, so if you're really curious about it, I'll try to find it. Or if you can find it, that would be great. Voilà. Ça, je pense c'est à Saumur. I'm pretty sure that this photo is from Saumur, which is a city on the other side of Touraine, kind of the western edge of Touraine. It's down the Loire River, closer to the Atlantic. And I just thought this little ruelle was really pretty. Saumur is known for a really good red wine called Saumur. Most places in Touraine actually are known for good red wine. Or good white wine, Vouvray. Voilà. Alors, Saumur, c'est super bon. Et ça, cette photo, c'est très très beau. Voilà. Ça, c'est la France, vue de la Belgique. This was a border crossing where, oh, you want to go to France? Just cross this little bridge. Oh, you want to come back to Belgium? Same thing. I remember we were very disappointed there was no way to get our passports stamped when we crossed here. This was way before European unification. So, it's not because of that there isn't any border control. Just a little teeny tiny border crossing. We actually asked some locals once we got into Belgium to find another border crossing where there actually would be a person in a little booth who could stamp our passports. He was not very happy about having to dig out his stamp and stamp our passports. Apparently we were the first people in ages to have asked him. He was quite put out, but he did it, grudgingly. Et là, on a les tampons de la Belgique dans les passeports. Puis, voilà. C'est C'est marrant, non? Cette petite frontière. Alors là, j'ignore où c'est, mais c'est beau. It's a nice little picture. I have no idea where it is. It might be in Dunkirk, because that's where we went after we crossed into Belgium right there. So, and I do remember it was really cloudy in Dunkirk the whole time we were there. Mais voilà, I can't get you a closer approximation. Ah, ça c'est Autry. C'est une petite ville à côté de Vernon, si je ne me trompe pas. Encore juste une petite photo du paysage, de la campagne, des petits villages, etc. This is a communal farm. Probably I'll have some more pictures of those eventually. Farms traditionally in France were built so that they were just kind of a big horseshoe of buildings. So the house would be attached to the barn, attached to the stable areas, attached to whatever else, attached to the granary, and everything would be attached. And then you just have a gate in the middle, and going through the gate would allow access to all of the buildings. So, voilà. Je devrais avoir d'autres photos comme ça. On va voir. Alors, Autry. Ça, c'est un petit carrefour avec un calvaire. Calvaire, kind of like you see if you're a hiker and you know you run into those little stacks of stones to show your way, except originally calvaires were kind of like altars at intersections. They date from considerably earlier than what we call the Middle Ages, and it's pretty cool. We see a super old one. This one's not super old, but c'est un beau petit carrefour quand même. Puis là, c'est encore un petit village. I like this church because it looks like somebody just took the inner nef of a cathedral and popped it out and dropped it here and called it a church. So if you want to know what the nef of a cathedral is, then you could get some extra credit possibly if you go research that. Remind me. Et puis voilà, c'est le même paysage qu'on avait vu au début. Et des curiosités. Je pense qu'on va couper là. Hein? I think we'll cut here. I'll go and talk to you about the cemetery. Most French cemeteries have these raised graves like this. When I first saw them, it reminded me of horror movies because that's the only time I'd seen them. But they're pretty cool. So là, c'est un petit cimetière français. Looks like it might be right down the road from where we just were. But voilà, c'est curieux. Alors, c'est tout pour aujourd'hui. I'll talk to you guys more on Blaze or GoView, and have all your other stuff posted and ready, and class times and all that kind of stuff. So just let me know if you have any questions, and somebody remind me if we want to do an extra credit activity attached to this slideshow. I'd be happy to do that. We'll figure it out later, so give me a couple weeks and we'll figure something out. Alors, bon semestre à tous, et puis à très bientôt. Salut!